So, as for petitioning the king, well, the actual petitioning the king, there's actually a whole section in this Constitutional Reform Act on the Privy Council, and it seems that they do have a separate jurisdiction. So all this about petitioning the king and this kind of like avenue is still there. And the part that seems relevant to me is this section here, and this parliamentary section. What it says is that the Supreme Court or Chief Justice, or I think in Scotland you've got this, this is like how the President of the Court of Session, which is what they were talking about in that older law, going back further. They can lay matters or representations which are relevant or interest to Commons. Representations from the courts. Does that mean that the courts can lobby Parliament? Does that mean that the justices can, in a way, lobby the House of Commons? That's strange. But saying that, where does it? What about the other way? What about Commons to the Supreme Court? Because then we're talking about, John Pym. We're talking about, people getting prosecuted or convicted by Star Chamber, going to prison, getting their ears cut off, and then their wives petitioning Parliament to get them released, and them getting released, right? But you don't need the Appellate Jurisdiction Act for that. You also don't need the right to petition at that stage for that. And you don't need the 1661 to Motion Petitioning Act for that either. You can just do it because you can. You can have it. And so, if they're trying to make out that... I don't know whether... See, there's nothing in this Constitutional Reform Act about what I can see about a personal jurisdiction of any particular minister. Now, the thing is, if you were going to petition the House of Commons for the release of a prisoner, which there's nothing that says you can't ask them in the petition. The Petitions Committee have given me zero evidence. I asked them, and obviously, if there was something, they would have to tell me. We're working on 145A standing orders, and we're working on the right to petition and the claim of right. And also a couple of other acts of law to do with publishing and sharing them. There is no law in this country that says what you can or can't petition this government about, or any time limit on petitions. None. Right? Now, I want to know who John Pym or whoever in Parliament was getting the prisoners released. Was he saying to the House of Lords, we've voted that we're going to release these prisoners, or what? Or a committee, even. Now, the thing is, right, you can petition the king, right, which the king has his Privy Council, right, for judicial orders. Now, but the thing is, you can petition either of House of Commons or the King, right? But obviously, if there is no Parliament, because, it's only held every 3 years, you would be petitioning the King and his Privy Council anyway. Unless it was any other specific or particular court. Now, so when the Parliament's on, that's why I have the Parliament, because Parliament deals with things when you have it on. That's the whole point, right? Now, what is kind of twisted about this act is that it says that the Supreme Court or the Chief Justice can put any matter to Parliament, right? Does it say the Parliament can put any matter to the Chief Justice? Doesn't say that he can't, from what I've read so far, or to the Privy Council. You're petitioning the King. Now, the thing is, the courts have got complaint systems, complaints and so forth. Complaints procedure. Now, the thing is, when you petition either House of Parliament or the King, who are you petitioning? Your MP? The thing is, when you hand petitions in, you give them to your MP, right? Or you can give them to number 10, or you can actually send it to the Petitions Committee. Does people do either or? Even if you were going to petition the House of Lords, which there's nothing that says you can't, don't even petition the Lord Chief Justice, but it's the same person who is in charge of the Judicial Conduct Office, right? It's the same person who's in charge of the Judicial Conduct Office. And if you've always got this right to petition the King anyway, without this appeal process or whatever. And I guess that would be with the Privy Council. But, the Lord Chief Justice is meant to be on the Privy Council anyway, though. So the question would suggest that, can you petition the House of Commons for the release of your husband, or for anyone, or whatever? I mean, if you got enough signatures, what would the House of Commons Petition Committee do with it? Would you have a debate on it, or even if they had a debate on it or not, or if they passed it to a committee, what committee would it be? I mean, it seems ridiculous that you couldn't say, well, pass it to the Privy Council, or they've got judicial powers still, even besides the Supreme Court in this act, which is important, and the Lord Chief Justice has. It would seem rather twisted that I don't get why the Labour government would make it so the Privy Council, the Lord Chief Justice and the Supreme Court could lay matters or things towards Parliament. But how would they? Well, we could petition them, surely. Petition the Supreme Court. But if the Supreme Court's got certain procedures and processes and so forth, but you've all got this. You've got the right to petition the King anyway, though, and the Lord Chief Justice is on the Privy Council. Now, the Lord Chief Justice is on the Privy Council. Then you can petition the King by giving it to the Lord Chief Justice. But they're also in charge of the Judicial Conduct Office, and they're taking the piss out of us. That's the problem. Just exactly like the Petitions Committee are doing. And there is a lot of functions. The Petitions Committee are supposed to give support to things for function when they're not doing. So, I've actually also said that the Lord Advocate in Scotland as well is must be on the Privy Council. So Lord Advocate, because it's the right. If you've got right on, if you've got the right on in front of your name, you get the Privy Council, and then in this thing, the Privy Council depends on if you've got a judicial rank. So the Lord Advocate has got a judicial position. So, There's also something else in another part of this about and what in the meaning of an enactment. What does in this act enactment means? But then it's like some riddle. It says enactment means any any it's suggesting that an enactment means that any act that you do for something, but it's saying it as if it doesn't necessarily mean an act of law, but a physical act that you might perform, like pick up a kettle or put a cup of tea on. It's trying to make it sound like the meaning of the word enactment not only means like enactment of law, but basically the performing of an action, the performing of an action, or the performing of a motion or move, or so as they say in the House of Lords, in not Hansard, well, in the House of Lords, Hansard thing, whatever it is, they go like, I beg to move. Whenever they speak or do anything, like you always say, I beg to move. It's like it's kind of like referring it to it in that sense. Under the what is the interpretation for in this act enactment means. I noticed I'm not reading this whole act because I don't need to. I only need to read parts of it that are relevant to what I'm doing. So you can you can hand a petition into the Lord Chief Justice to make a representation for you in Parliament, right? But it's meant to be the Lord Chief Justice who makes who's got power to make judicial decisions, but also the Privy Council on petition of the King. So it really, the method of appeal, the fact is you've got the right to petition the King, right? Or either of Houses of Parliament still. So, and you don't have to, that's different to appealing an order or sentence. And it's true that they don't have the Appeal Act Jurisdiction Act, like, appeal with a petition and prayer. But that act, that Appeal Act Jurisdiction Act, was never, you could do it without it. You don't even need it anyway. So, I don't like this act. I think it's a lot of hoo-ha about High Court judges and justices, and I kind of liked that other act, the Appeal Act Jurisdiction Act. It was kind of like straightforward and simple. It's a bit of a shame, really. It's kind of like the part with a prayer. I don't like what they've done to the law of England, and this whole thing with getting rid of all of what have they done to the House of Lords is they've porked it up, turned it into a big pork chop, a big greasy pork chop on Baroness Munn's boat. It's a big floating, greasy, some sort of consumerism Barbie boat of people who have got really nothing to do with this country other than a product packaging on a fucking supermarket shelf, basically. You might as well turn the House of Lords into a fucking supermarket sweep or something. They've prevented people from actually sitting in the House of Lords, and then they filled it up with a load of simpletons who are like Dragon's Den, fucking Baroness Munn, literally like some sort of X Factor, Lord Sugar, modern television kind of version of some sort of fucking Nancy Pelosi on the fucking RuPaul's fucking drag queen show or something, or worse, just supermarket drive-through packaging. The whole problem with the whole thing, the whole country, what is the mess? Why have they barred people from sitting in the House of Lords who actually, who, it's almost like if you're not Moderna, you've been barred from there or something. It's almost like they've kind of like Rishi Sunak's Moderna Britain, Bill Gates' innovation of sentiment technology, which, is about as useful as a pile of CDs and cassette tapes. I hope Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse ends up on the fucking refuse pile with the CDs and C90 cassettes ASAP. In fact, I'd like, I hope Elon Musk can go even quicker. I like to see Elon Musk, make time go faster. The quicker that Elon Musk's Optimus fucking robot ends up on, next to the fucking pile of CDs and C90 cassettes on the refuse pile, the better, to be honest. It's better to see it come and see it go. I'd actually like to speed up the process so that the quicker that Elon Musk's shit cars, crap, bullshit, fucking exploding fucking Teslas end up in a fucking scrap pile next to his Optimus robot and next to Mark Zuckerberg's fucking metaverse goggles, next to the smoking pile of, vinyl records and that, the better. Because they're a pain. Written representations or matters that appear to him to be matters of importance relating to the judiciary or otherwise to the administration of justice. Well, the administration of justice is if you've had misjustice. There's nothing to say that you cannot petition the Lord Chief Justice, and if he's in the Privy Council, get bollocks.